Hi there. Welcome in. It's time for Three Guys Before the Game. Yes, we know that there is not a football contest this weekend. It is an off week, a bye week, an open date, not playing week. We get it, but you know what we have? I said, do you know what we have?
What?
We've got Open Week Musings. If you don't like the title, head over to the complaint department over there. That was a fine title. I mean, took a lot of grief before we started recording when I said, hey guys, what's the title? And Brad always says, I'm not naming it because you always say what it is and then you don't listen to me. I said, fine, just name whatever you want.
You don't listen to Hoppy either. I know. That was Hoppy we had to come up with this week's because he passed. Normally he comes up with the ultra creative Kansas preview, Oklahoma State review. He passed today during the. He had an open week on title, so we handled it, Hop. Thank you.
Under control.
You're beautiful. Because you're always the one to go, just call it what it is, Kansas State preview. Just call it what it is, Kansas State review.
I don't know. You're the one that says always you name the title, so I can't take any credit.
This is what I do know. The Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. They have got your collective back. Visit comaxwv.com. Three Guys brought to us by GoMart. Get a GoMart rewards card and instantly save on food and fuel. What's really neat is they got all these constant specials all of the time. As long as you have that app or have the card, like you instantly go ching-ching and you cash in on really fun stuff. You got to do that. And we're talking about gas, food, all that kind of stuff.
Let's talk about gas.
We're talking about gas. We're talking about practice. We're talking about getting gas to go to practice. That's all it is. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Earlier today, I heard the song, Gordon Lightfoot, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. That was not a Lou Wendell craft. Not a Lou Wendell craft.
Having a real flashback there, weren't you?
Yeah. I tell you what, when the cook came upstairs the second time, it was done. Three Guys brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way. Start your day the Three Guys way with a Tudor's biscuit.
The late Gordon Lightfoot.
Yeah. He had a couple of numbers. Canadian. Of course, you knew that.
Knew that.
Three Guys also brought to us by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond numbers. And we do have numbers despite the fact that the world champion Mountaineers are not going to play this week. We have numbers, giving us an opportunity to do a deep dive on the numbers. And as a radio DJ, it's time for me to post up on the Open Sting Rock and Roll 102.
Well done.
Thank you. Still got it.
Yeah.
It's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, what's up?
Well, interesting time for the open week. It's just you get rolling here. It's certainly better to be 2-2 than 1-3. And you feel like you got a little breathing room. West Virginia certainly needs it because of those injuries. And you got this really tough stretch coming up. And also for Mountaineer fans, a good weekend to watch conference play. Everybody's in conference play this weekend. And now you get into that part of the season. You got Oklahoma State and Kansas State playing. Iowa State, Houston, Cincinnati, Texas Tech, TCU, Kansas. So a fun weekend for Mountaineer fans to watch other teams that you're going to see.
Yeah, and the Oak State Kansas State game, first game of the day, noon on Saturday. So
noon
Brad,
Eastern.
Now you're a big guy. I mean, you watch as much as you possibly can, but you're in here during game day, so that kind of limits you, right? But this will be the first weekend in West Virginia football history. Think about this now. I'm on a roll. I'm making this up as I go.
Yeah,
that Mountaineer Nation can watch a 16-team Big 12 conference play literally from noon until your head hits the coffee table after midnight, because you'll have games all day long. So I think fans also need a little bit of a breather, right? They've gone through 2 weather delays, right, in the first 4 games. And this is a good, okay, let's watch the rest of the league, and you'll be able to see K-State and Oklahoma State, 2 of West Virginia's next 3 opponents, coming up with Iowa State sandwiched in between.
By the way, with the weather forecast, it's good West Virginia's not playing this Saturday.
Oh,
Might have another weather delay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's supposed to be raining. Now, maybe it's just going to be rain and not a thunderstorm. But
how about that tornado? Pocahontas
County, yeah.
You got that on WVMetroNews.com. I saw that.
Yeah, it was on our website.
Why is that happening? West Virginia's not a tornado place.
Not normally, no. I mean, people attribute to climate change, but there have been more tornadoes in West Virginia so far this year, 20, than any time in recent history.
Senator, you're from Iowa. How many tornadoes have you literally seen?
They have 20 a day.
I don't know that I've laid eyes on a bunch.
Oh, really?
No, warnings constantly. In the hallway with the book over your head constantly.
In elementary school.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
Scared the living hell out of you.
Big tornado drills.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen a ton, though.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. All right, agenda for today. Really, a couple things. A lot of good texts. A lot of good texts asking good questions. Plus, got a text. Have not shared with these guys yet, but I got a text.
What does that mean?
That may be a top fiver.
We didn't go over this in show prep.
No, just
in what way?
Connection.
Oh, okay.
Always, as in always a?
Well, combination of connection and impact.
I mean, the bar's pretty high on that. We've had a lot of connections.
Let me just tell you something. This one goes far beyond. Yeah, I saw a guy, he had a Mountaineer hat on. This one goes a little bit deeper than that.
All right.
Look forward to that.
Good tease.
So I got that. Also, coming up on Sunday, we normally record on Sunday. We won't have a game to talk about, but on Sunday we will release a late summer series episode of Three Guys Before the Game with Mountaineer basketballer Tucker DeVries. Very well could be preseason all-conference honoree. He'll be right up there in the balloting. And we'll spend some time with Tucker, his new life, his new world. A lot of things have happened to him since last March when he was playing for the Drake Bulldogs. So we'll have time with him.
I think people will like that one.
Yeah.
That's a good one because you haven't heard a lot from Tucker, haven't heard a lot from Darren since they've taken over. Kind of been a whirlwind for that whole program. So this will be a fun one.
It's a good one. We already taped it. And we'll drop it on Sunday. You'll like it. And, okay, that's about it. You got numbers, too.
I got some numbers.
Hey, do you mind?
We can jump around.
Do you mind
if
I lower the temperature? Is it hot? Is it me?
Well, I don't know. Kurtzville always comes in here and raises the temperature in this room, not just by his attitude, but he actually comes in and hits the button.
Wow, did you just get up and go adjust the thermostat? Yeah. Is that what you just did?
It's a podcast.
Wow.
Was it back at 73?
I almost never touch the thermostat. Almost never. You know, I lived at a college apartment for 2 years and never saw a thermostat.
Like you don't know that one existed?
I don't know.
So there wasn't heat, nor was there AC?
No, there was no AC, obviously, but there was. I mean, I always was warm enough, but I don't know where the thermostat was. I think it was in the apartment below.
I got it going now. Look at that fan. Yeah.
I usually don't touch the thermostat.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. All right, let's jump in.
I would tell you if I did.
Someone's touching it.
Jump in. What do we need to know, Mountaineer football, as we get into this bye week?
What are we doing, numbers?
Sure. You want to do it now?
Play the music? Let's do the music.
Okay, let's do it right now. I mean, we're just not playing around.
We're just going to jump right in.
Go.
By the way, Mike Gundy's brother got in touch with me.
What now?
Kale reached out.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of surprised me.
Reason?
I've never had any conversation with him before. Doing a talk show out there in Sports Animal out in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And obviously, they're getting ready for their preview for next week. How about this guy looking ahead? True coordinator, right? That's a true coordinator looking ahead, probably watching tape already. And I'm going to go out on a show next week.
That's amazing because usually when you line up guests, it's about 12 hours ahead of time.
12 hours. We've done them during the open of Sportsline. True story. We've had the open on the phone with somebody. Hey, about 5 minutes from now, you jump on. Okay, cool. Talk to you then. See you. Yeah. Hoppy, on time is air time.
I understand.
So when Kel Gundy reached out to the thing, like he just said, hey, I'd like to get you on our show. And I'm going like, I mean, you were at Oklahoma, dude. Like, you do know, like, we're not in the league anymore, right? We're good with that, right? But I realized that they're previewing Oklahoma State. So we'll talk about his brother's team.
He's back a little more involved with Oklahoma State now with his brother.
Yeah.
He's doing some things.
As well as he should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. Oklahoma lost their last Saturday. At home.
To Tennessee.
Yeah, to Tennessee.
Yeah,
they don't often lose there at home.
They do not. They're not often. They're not often dogs at home. They were a dog at home.
How about that? New world. All right.
New world.
Let me see.
Yeah. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let's start the music.
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater. Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show.
This is Spreads on Stats, brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. They're, in one word, they're terrific. Audit and assurance, tax planning and preparation, consulting, advisory, whatever needs to be done in the world of numbers, digits, they got you covered. But in all seriousness, what they do is they're more than just like, hey, let's fill out this form. They are a guide, and they walk you through all your possibilities within your business space, and they can help you. So if you've been looking around saying, you know what, I need something, either I need it or I need something better than I'm getting right now, check them out. Conley CPA Group. We give it our stamp of approval. We might be reaching out to them, by the way, right? I mean, we might have a...
Yeah, I think we're going to need some services.
We're going to need services from them.
For?
Yeah. I mean, you know,
stuff.
I mean, food court. I mean, things are going on there. We need to make sure.
Food court's getting big.
Well, yeah, it gets big because you keep showing up there and more people flock.
Get Homeless Dave to get on this. We need a parking garage.
Well, so's the Coliseum, and it's still not built, so we might have to wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Homeless Dave can make things happen. I mean, the higher ed moves slowly. We're nimble. We're nimble.
Hoppy's getting a little bit bouncy because he asked for a bathroom and Homeless Dave put a porta potty back there. It's not quite as simple.
But but the porta potty was only there 1 week.
Oh, it's gone now?
It was only there 1 week.
Maybe.
It'll be back. I had to take care of it. I didn't just sit there all the time.
Yeah. Had to bring it out to a work site.
I don't think fine-looking
Poor
Phil
Dave,
would want
poor
that.
Dave probably cringes when these episodes come out between
no
the two
question.
of you just throwing stuff out there.
He's getting bigger. I mean, he's like the fourth Beatle. All right?
Yeah.
All right, jump in. What do we got?
Just so these are just a bunch of musings, as the title would suggest. So let's just run through. We can debate, discuss. You don't have to wait here, Hop. Just jump in and we'll comment
sure.
as each category comes up. The first one, this is always, you guys hear me say this a lot in the summer. One of the things I really like about preseason is just the you don't know factor, but the optimism that surrounds, and there's just different guys. And TJ Jackson was one of those guys that we said maybe a million times. You know, I tell you what, now TJ Jackson can come in. If TJ Jackson if TJ Jackson can be really good, we said that how many times, Hop, right? Because you just don't know. You want to see, well, TJ Jackson's translated early through the first third of the season. In fact, guys, he leads the country in pressures among Power 4 players, quarterback pressures. So how about TJ Jackson early?
That's pretty strong.
It's really good. Really good start for him. And we've talked a lot about that. The defensive line, we've spent hours on the defense, and they certainly need to still keep improving. But that defensive line's shown an ability to get some pressure. Jackson, Tyron Bradley, we've seen Sean Martin at times. We've seen Mulba start to emerge a little bit. Asani Redwood and Hammond Russell are playing. So that defensive line's starting to come into its own a little bit. Agree?
Yeah, I agree. It's 2 years in a row they've been solid. 2 years in a row they've been solid.
Yeah. So there's Jackson leading the country in pressures among Power 4 players. We've talked about this before, but it bears repeating because I don't think you heard it the last time we discussed it. Fourth down success for this offensive team.
Yeah, they're having success. In fact, they've gone for it on fourth down more than any team in the country.
Well, like 12 times or something?
Not only that, they lead the nation in fourth down conversions, more to the point. They're converting in those. They also have the best conversion percentage for any team with 10 or more attempts. They're 10 to 12 on the season. So fourth down is, Neil likes to call them end of possession downs, which is a good new term.
Yeah.
It's not just about how you are on third down, because a lot of times you go for it on fourth. So very successful, attempting a bunch of them, converting a bunch of them so far early in the season.
Yeah. Significant. I mean, that is kind of surprising, isn't it? You're leading the nation and going for it on fourth down. He explained it, I don't know if it was I think it was his press conference this week, where a lot of times he's setting up fourth down on third down.
Sure.
So he's just like in the mindset, we're going for it twice here. So if I just get this, we're going to do this.
And a lot of times that shows up, guys, if it's a 3rd and 5 or a 3rd and 6, which is normally an obvious passing down, and you see West Virginia run it, that's usually an indication that the thought process going into third down is we've got 2 downs to get this. We're gonna run 2 plays.
And if you know you're going for it on fourth down, it opens up the playbook on third down, right?
Sure.
So it just makes things a lot simpler, I think, or it keeps your playbook more wide open if you know you got 2 downs to get it.
Let's stay on offense for just a second, because one of the other talking points during the offseason was about this rushing offense for WVU that was so good last year, leading Power 5 in rush yards. And we said, listen, there's almost no way this line can perform at last year's level when you lose a generational talent like Zach Frazier and you lose another guy in Doug Nestor that had played a lot of college football and himself is on an NFL roster. Those are hard replacements to make, especially now you see Zach Frazier walk into Pittsburgh and look exactly like he did last year. He's dominating at that league like he did here. So there was no doubt it was going to come back. The question just is, all right, what would it look like? Doesn't have to be number 1 in the country, because you think the passing offense is going to come up and get and close some of that gap. So what is the rush offense going to look like? So far, 50th overall nationally, still averaging a pretty good number, 180 yards per game, but it's not the dominant rush offense that we saw at the end of last year, where they ended up averaging 230 yards per game. So they're a little bit off of that. Last season, the 5th most rush attempts nationally. This season, 45th. Now, again, small sample size here, so keep that in mind. We're just a third of the way through the season, but that is what we thought would happen. This rushing offense still trying to find its footing and get going. It's also one of the things, if you want to try and pull positives out of this first third of the season and project forward, is you've seen West Virginia for the last 2 games really do some good things offensively, but doesn't feel like they've totally got it clicking yet, right? You saw Garrett really look like Garrett last time for the first time. Jaheim White hasn't got on track yet. Right? You still feel like there's a lot of yards in Jaheim White coming. So if you're looking at this rush offense as this line continues to gel, you hope that there's still some runway and some upside for this rush offense. Moving over to the passing offense, what do they look like compared to last year? Last season, 91st in yards per game passing. They were 8.1 yards per attempt, which was up almost 2 yards per attempt from the year before. And that was a big talking point going into last season, is would West Virginia be able to push the ball down the field? Clearly they did. That was one of the best things about that offense last year. It was one of the strongest parts of Garrett Green's game were the downfield passing numbers, which we've talked a lot about. This season, 70th in passing yards per game, so up from last season, averaging 7.9 yards per attempt. Almost exactly the same where it was last year. A lot of that was aided by this last game, right? West Virginia did a great job getting the ball down the field in this last game. Here's what the biggest difference is. West Virginia throwing it for a few more yards per game to make up for that difference where the running games come back a little bit, because teams are saying, what, Hop? Yeah. Well, you're not going to just line up and run on us. If you can throw it, throw it. So those have kind of done what we thought they would do number-wise. But here's the difference. West Virginia already with 5 interceptions this year. There's only 4 Power 4 teams that have more, and you just beat one of those teams. So West Virginia's had too many interceptions early. And that's not just on Garrett Green, by the way. We've talked about that. Interceptions are not always just the responsibility of the quarterback, right? We saw last week he got hit once as he was throwing it. So there are different factors. But for a team, that's been an issue. They've got to get that under control. Last year, just 7 all of last season. You're already at 5. So that's a part that has to get cleaned up. Speaking of interceptions, go to the defense for a second. West Virginia's 108th this season in interceptions gained. Last year, 55th. They averaged almost 1 per game last year. Remember, that was a talking point going into last season, is that group needed to create some turnovers. So far this season, West Virginia is not. Now, they did against Kansas. It's part of what led you to getting a win. You neutralized that turnover margin. That's something here over the next 2/3 of the season. Can West Virginia get better at protecting it and get better at taking it away? Because when you have a defense that is not going to stop on every down, what do you have to do? You got to get off the field some way. So either stop 3rd downs or create some turnovers. West Virginia is not doing the latter of those right now.
Right. Yeah. That's obviously, it goes without saying that we'll be interested to see what that defensive backfield develops into over the next several weeks. Is it what it is? Is it what it is, or is it going to get better? I mean, late in the Kansas game, Anthony Wilson came over, got a pass breakup on the Kansas sideline.
Yeah.
That was like, heck, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah.
Seriously. It was like a guy comes in, reaches in there, bats ball away, like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to look. But you're right. You're not going to get picks when you don't have a defensive player close to a receiver. It ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and some of that's the responsibility of the linebackers, too, as Neil's talked a lot about, not just the defensive backfield. That whole team coverage has to get better, and that's showing up in yards per attempt. Last season, West Virginia was 80th in opponent yards per attempt at 7.4 yards per attempt, okay? This season, West Virginia is last among Power 4 teams. Opponents are averaging 9.2 yards per attempt. That's a big number. Mm-hmm. So obviously, and West Virginia knows this, they've got to cut that number down. To put that in context, Georgia Tech offense is averaging 9.2 yards per attempt. They're 20th nationally in that category. So basically, West Virginia is getting a top 20 passing offense in that category every week it goes out. That's a hard model to sustain.
Yeah. Jumping back over on the other side of the ball.
I'm sorry, one more thing.
Well, sure.
Last week, it was just 7.4 yards per attempt for Jalen Daniels.
Jumped up.
And that included some big third down conversions that boosted that up. So as Neil talked about this week, they made a concerted effort to take away the passing game last week, and it was much, much improved in that particular area.
Yeah. Jaheim White, I'll be really interested to see what the rest of his season becomes, because he has had one good game against Albany, and to this point, C.J. Donaldson's become the guy. And you don't want to say the double S word, but sophomore slump. C.J. Donaldson went through a sophomore slump. He had self-admits, I had a sophomore slump. I think this is a really good off week for Jaheim, because he's got to kind of look around and go like, okay, what do I need to do to get back to where I was at the end of last season and live up to what I'm sure his expectations are. But he has not gotten into the flow and has not gotten frothed up yet.
He hasn't, and they need him to.
Yes, they do.
That's part of the thing. When you outside look in at this team, that's the magic of it. It's that three-headed monster running the football, and they've got to have all three of those guys available and operating at peak efficiency. So Jaheim's the one you hope you can get rolling here over the last two-thirds of this season.
Yeah, and you don't know what it is, right? I mean, why is that? Why is that?
Is combination of a bunch of things, I think. Combination of a bunch of things. I mean, there wouldn't be a term called sophomore slump if they didn't exist. For whatever reason, guys that come through, or for that matter, if it's a female sport, girls that come through, like if you do something unexpected as a freshman, it also impacts all the stimulus you get around you. People patting you on the back. You think you figured it out. You think, okay, I got this done. I can do this. That's what happens their sophomore year oftentimes. And then they have to go through this low point as a sophomore, and then they build back up and they go, okay, I got it. I understand now. And then they come back and they normally have a good junior, senior year. We've seen those here. And that's, I think, he's on the fringe of having that. And it'll be interesting to see if he can do a mid-season turnaround.
It also, you're a known commodity.
Sure.
So do you think the other teams know about Jaheim White? Do they come in and game plan a little bit? When Jaheim White comes in the game, you think all 11 defenders are aware that Jaheim White's in the game? Last year, I'm not sure that was the case all the time, right? There was a surprise element to that. So that factors in as well. Grades, let's look at first third of the season grades. Top three offensively. You want to guess?
Yeah, I'll guess.
Go ahead.
Milam, Malone.
Ooh. Does he have two of them?
Milam, Malone, and CJ.
Ooh, you're close. Milam, Malone, Garrett.
Okay.
How about that?
How about Nick Malone?
How about two tackles?
That's, to me, that's the story. Milam's not a surprise. You're talking about a fringe first-round guy, potential first-round pick. Garrett Green, you knew needed to be good for this team to be good. And listen, last season gave this staff, I think, a lot of confidence in what Nick Malone could do, being able to step in like he did across multiple positions. But for him to step in and be your second highest graded offensive player after 4 games is just fantastic. And remember, that includes going against NFL guys there on that Penn State group. Both Milam and Malone did. I think that's incredibly impressive, certainly for all three. But for Nick Malone to be in your top 3 through 1/3 of the season, tremendous.
Yes.
Nick is benefiting from technology. And by that, I mean this. If you didn't have the unbelievable amount of analytics and metrics that exist nowadays,
That's a good point.
all you would say is, yeah, the kid Morgantown High kid, Nick Malone, yeah, he's playing pretty good.
Starting.
Yeah, he's starting. He must be pretty good.
He's pretty good.
But you'd never be able to quantify and say, well, actually, he's playing a little bit better than good. Was he 2 or 3?
He's two. Yeah.
He's the second best graded player on offense. So the metrics and the technology now kind of can focus on it.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good for him.
Otherwise, he'd just be another kid from the high school.
Yeah, happy for him.
Yeah.
Okay, defensively, you want to take a swing defensively here at the top 3?
Trotter,
Jackson,
Jackson, Jackson, correct.
Carrico,
correct.
Anthony Wilson.
Nope. You're just not thinking of it because it's obvious.
Martin?
No. Trotter's not far off, by the way. That was a good.
Trey Lathan.
No.
Burks?
Nope.
All right, we named all the starters.
Yeah,
Who was it?
Tyron Bradley.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, right? Just coming off that
unbelievable game, yeah.
Unbelievable game. So, again, those are 3 guys. 2 of them, Hop, everybody gnashes their teeth about who you lose in the transfer portal.
Who do you get?
But how about that, right? Carrico and Jackson. Carrico's super important to get back. Hopefully this week off allows him to heal up and get back in this lineup because those are 3 very important pieces of this team right there. But pretty good for a top 3 right there. But Tyron Bradley's another one. We talked about him in the offseason coming off that unbelievable interception he had in the Mayo Bowl as a guy that you looked at and said, all right, what can Tyron Bradley give you this season? He's given you a lot through a third.
There's the octopus. Yeah, that was an octopus arm interception in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Reached up and took it.
Grabbed the ball.
What if I told you in August that 4 games into the season that Ollie Gordon at Oklahoma State would be 10th in rushing among Big 12 running backs?
Well, you would think you would say, what's wrong, he's hurt.
And that C.J. Donaldson would be above him. But here's the deal, and you'll say it.
3 sub-50-yard games for Gordon.
I'll say it before you say it. Kind of similar to last.
I know.
He was a hibernated bear early last season, and then he ran for 7,621 yards in like the last 7 games.
Almost ran himself to the Heisman Trophy. Well, he was so good after the first 3 games.
Yeah. So like they fly out of Bridgeport, right? They fly out of Bridgeport. Last time he was here, he ran to the airport.
He was already there.
He was already there when the team got there. Yeah. What are you doing? Yeah, I just ran out of the stadium.
It will absolutely floor me if and listen, last season they completely flipped their blocking scheme and what they were doing zone versus gap blocking last year after their first 3 games. They totally reinvented themselves and took off, started feeding Gordon the ball more. It will stun me and par for the course that West Virginia is getting ready to roll in here. If against Kansas State coming up for Oklahoma State this weekend and against West Virginia, they don't find a way to get Ollie Gordon going.
But also that defenses are saying, look, stop, do whatever you got to do, sell out, stop Ollie Gordon, see if Bowman's good enough to beat you.
Well, correct, but the counterpoint to that would be you don't think they were doing it by the end of last year through multiple games? I mean, they were, and Oklahoma State still figured out a way to do it. They're going to get back to figure it out here. They're going to work Gordon here.
West Virginia's defense still has to face 6 of the current top 10 running backs in the Big 12 with remaining games. How about this R.J. Harvey dude at UCF?
My gosh.
Well, he's running for $149 a game.
Not a surprise. He put up 1,400 yards rushing last year. So Harvey's not a surprise. One of the best returning backs in the country. Now, UCF's going to be an interesting case study because their schedule is going to pick up now. But they are a team that a lot of people, me included, thought had the potential to be a dark horse in this league. They probably weren't getting enough attention. I mean, they've got dudes offensively. And KJ Jefferson coming in from Arkansas as the quarterback, if he can manage that team well, their question is just defense, and that's what it's been the last couple of years. But offensively, they've got dudes, they've got speed, and Harvey is absolutely lights out.
Yeah, that'll be fun to watch, see how that all goes. That's pretty good.
That is. That's kind of the main
Are those
stuff.
musings? That's what we would call
Those are some number musings.
Hoppy,
number-based.
Musings category. That was incredibly overmodulated.
It was wild.
Since it's a live to tape show, we're not fixing it. It's a good thing Dale Miller's not around anymore. We'd be getting the grease pencils out and cutting that tape.
Start over.
Fix that again. Start the whole show over again. You overmodulated. It's all right. We're good. 3 Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems. If you're a business owner, that's been putting off getting a new phone system for your biz. Incredible benefits to the technology that exists today. You just give them a call. Doesn't cost you a single copper penny. Just give them a call. They'll come in, do an evaluation of what it is that you have, what it is that you need, and size-wise, they can go any way you want to go. One line, 1,000 digital lines, they can make it happen for you. And then when it comes to cost, competitively priced, and you can purchase, you can lease it, you can rent it, you can do whatever you want. I mean, if you got farm vegetables, you might be able to go to Bob over there at Comax and say, look, I'll give you a couple bushels of tomatoes, some beans. We've got half a cow. Will that be enough for a phone system? Maybe. You can ask.
Well, I don't know that that's true.
That's completely made up.
When you were growing up on the dairy farm, did you ever barter like milk for stuff?
I don't think we did barter, but we would butcher a cow or something.
Yeah, but I didn't know if you were like your dad would go like, hey, we got some milk here. You give us some of that, give us that. That still exists today.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm running a black market operation upstairs with Jennifer Roba.
Oh, and for what? For eggs?
Yeah.
What are you bartering? What are you giving her?
Bread.
Oh,
I make her bread, and she gives me fresh eggs. They got chickens apparently all over that place.
Yeah,
and
she does.
And then yesterday she came and went different level on me.
What do you mean?
Husband Dave now's he's got bees.
Oh, so you got honey?
Got bees.
Yeah, honey. Gave me fresh honey.
Huh.
So I'm probably gonna have to expand my bread offering to her too. I'm a barter guy. No, I mean I'm not embarrassed about being a barter guy.
So
it's the way the world works.
So after, in Armageddon, after that, you'll be in good shape because you can barter with. Oh yeah. Because currency won't be worth anything.
No, I got.
So you
products.
can barter.
We got products. Sure, we can get products. Time for Textual Healing. Textual Healing is brought to us by the website episode800.com. That's episode800.com. We got so much stuff on there. So much stuff on there now. We got coffee. We got apparel. We got getting ready for winter. We got our window insulation units, plastic that we put on there. It's just amazing.
It's not true.
What we have on there.
It is not there.
Time to tidy up the windows. Stop those cold drafts. Go to episode800.com and get your window insulation. Boy. The things we do for you folks. Just trying to take care of every angle. All right, let me give you an update on the beer. Connection 304 has exploded, thanks to the folks at Parkersburg Brewing. Currently have 3 production runs that are in fermentation. First will be ready at the end of this week. The other 2 will be ready next week. Connection 304 is heading to the Eastern Panhandle. Martin's distributor will be distributing in the Eastern Panhandle over the next few weeks. Also, heading to Spriggs distribution early next week. You'll start to see the beer available in the next week in Charleston and in Huntington. These 3 batches will help us expand across the state. Then we will refill. Obviously, the epicenter of Connection 304 remains the food court. And they've got all kinds of stuff. All the ingredients are for future batches, making their way into the Parkersburg Brewery. I mean, these are exotics that we're bringing into this beer. And then we're going to create a map of all the locations and have it available on episode 800 to tell you where the beer is available.
What about the Go Mart?
Oh, yeah. They're well stocked at the Go Marts.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they were. I mean, we had some. I mean, it sold out at a couple places this past weekend.
He just gave you what about the Go Mart?
There's more than one.
I'm glad to see it getting over the Eastern Panhandle way.
Yeah, we
for
struggled.
My people.
The last product that we had really struggled. Literally, Homeless Dave would take sixtals of it.
Self-distributed.
He self-distributed. Yeah, he
self-publish.
Yeah, he's self-distributor.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So that it is popping. So thank you to everybody that has tried it, has purchased it. So now it will be available statewide ASAP.
Hey, even if you don't like beer, just buy it for the can. It's a piece of art. It's a gorgeous can.
Yeah, it is. Great. Off to a good start.
Texter, Tony, whatever info Hoppy has regarding the Mothman is incorrect.
Oh, jeez.
I don't want to drive a wedge between you two, but Hoppy's saying that your information does not add up and his does, is all based on myth. Brad, the Mothman would like to hear your take. Signed Jay in GBC. Because that'd be Greenberg County.
Right.
Well, I'm not getting.
Want to talk to the Mothman?
No,
big boy?
I don't want to talk to the Mothman. All due respect to the Mothman. I have a very healthy respect for the Mothman and the legend of the Mothman.
Jason Watson from Pulaski, Virginia. Is it Pulaski? People jump on you on that I. Is it the Pulaski, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's right outside of Blacksburg.
Yeah. Hey, Tony, love the show. My pops got me listening to you guys back in August. I look forward to every episode. You guys make my mouth water every time you talk about the food court. In your opinion, what is your favorite rivalry for West Virginia? Is it Pitt, Tech, or Marshall? I know these we're past the rivalry week, but I'm just curious. Favorite rivalry? Easy, right?
Yeah, it's Pitt. I mean, at Virginia State. But there's something about going to Blacksburg, going to Lane Stadium that is different than all the other rivalries, okay? I mean, Pitt is the rivalry because 107, 108 years, whatever it's been. But that game at Blacksburg, Brad, or having them come here, that's a pretty
great games against Tech. I mean, Pitt and Tech are way up there. Those were both awesome.
Tell you what, Gobblers got a big weekend. Now, the Gobblers have already lost to the Vanderbilts.
Yeah.
They lost to the Fighting Schianos.
Yes.
Now they got to go to Miami.
They lost to the Rutgers,
That's a Friday night game, I believe, right?
Is that a Friday?
I think it is.
Guys, I want to shoot you this photo of P1 Jason and myself golfing at Las Sandeas Golf Club in Mesa, Arizona. Thanks to Jason for hosting me, and thanks to you guys. We've become friends because of good efforting by Tony to connect us last spring. Grateful for the podcast and for the win over the Jayhawks signed by Matt in Tulsa. That's what we do.
Just bringing people together.
I tell you what, man.
Jason golfs more than Scotty Scheffler. He's got a great gig. We are doing it wrong.
Well,
really?
Remember, he's the guy. He's the one I had breakfast with there in Lubbock.
Oh, I'm aware.
He's moved around a bunch of times, and he stepped in that hole, damn near killed himself.
On a golf course.
And I'm glad we brought those two Mountaineers who are living out there together. So
Connection 304.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How about this one? Hello from Tanzania and the Serengeti. We listened to the Kansas game in Rwanda. What a comeback. There's our folks.
Well, they truly
Martha
are world
and
travelers.
Charlie from Champion, also known as Joe.
Now, I have been to Rwanda, Kigali.
Have you been? Well, is that where they are?
Well, the Serengeti's not in Rwanda, but
never mind. Man, don't they get tired?
Martha and Charlie go.
They
go. They do.
They go.
It's a chore for us to think about. Hey, you want to go down to Charleston?
Yeah, really.
Running around the Serengeti.
It's the off week. Go to the Buckwheat Festival.
Serengeti.
Texter, we made the drive up to Pittsburgh on Sunday with family to watch the Steelers, and it was amazing to hear how happy the fans are with Zach Frazier.
Should be.
He's been a great ambassador for the state and the university. It's great to see him flourish. Here's a picture of him standing alone and hustling to the opposite end of the field in between the third and the fourth quarters. Goes to show he hasn't changed, and he's still busting his ass in the NFL. And some pictures of the tailgate there you go. Look at that.
Oh, my.
Ooh, that's very nice and colorful. Very nice.
To go from college
That's a good picture right there.
to the National Football League and start and be performing at the level he's performing, that's in the 1/2 of 1%. At that position,
correct.
At that position,
correct.
That's the 1/2 of 1%.
Just lines up and does it.
Yeah.
Did it as a freshman at Fairmont Senior. Did it as a freshman here. Doing it as a rookie in the NFL. It doesn't matter the jersey he's put on.
Yeah.
He's just handled it.
He does a lot of things that if it wasn't on a football field, you get arrested for.
What do you mean?
Just beats people up. He just mauls people and beats them up, throws them on the ground, and jumps on top of them. You can't do that on the street. You get in trouble.
That's his job now.
Hey, three guys. My wife and I were at North Myrtle this past weekend. A gentleman approaches at a restaurant, wanted to ask me about my truck because he's considering buying one like it. It came up in conversation that he lived and we lived in West Virginia.
Of course he did.
He asked how far from Matewan because he had once married a woman from there. Always a West Virginia connection.
Interesting way to phrase it.
How about this sign, boys? George from Mingo County. This is how to start a rainy Thursday. There it is. The South's best biscuit is what it says. Tudor's Biscuit World, folks. The home of the South's best biscuit. What a fantastic honor that is.
What's it doing on a chain link fence? What is that about?
Just advertise wherever you can get it.
Advertise where you can get that. Well, why, Hoppy? Trying to get top-of-mind awareness. You put it on a fence. Who else would think there was a biscuit poster on a fence? What did it do? It just made you think of Tudor's Biscuits.
Into a show.
Fair point.
by all means, despite the fact that the world champions aren't playing this weekend, we strongly encourage you at some point this weekend, get out to a Tudor's. Take advantage of that Mountaineer biscuit that has been voted as the South's best biscuit. And if you're really entrepreneurial, don't ever forget that they are expanding their franchises right now. Over 70 locations across our area. Why not? Think about this. You go in day one. You got brand equity in that Tudor's biscuit, and you can start your day the homemade way. Franchises are available at Tudor's Biscuit World.
Would it surprise you that I'd eat one right now?
No.
No, because I'll offer to help you because of your bad food management. By the way, you think this is a good business? I'm going to sell biscuits in West Virginia.
Pretty good business.
That's good business.
Find a need and fill it.
Yeah.
Texter, due to the success, I decided to enroll at West Virginia. Oh, wait a second. Wait.
What happened? What's happening?
What happened?
Okay, stop.
You missed
Stop.
a
I
page.
screwed up. Okay, here we go. This is the text that I say is a top 5 text of all time.
This one right now
This
that you're
one
about to read?
Yeah,
Which one? Inspired by?
Yes.
Okay, go.
So last week, or last show Sunday, we read a text from Matt from Morgantown who was commenting on the reunion of the Elite 8 basketball team and how he took what he learned from that group, became a coach, right? He just like it changed his life.
Okay.
Then I got this text. In 2005, I was fresh out of high school, and I was coaching freshman basketball in my hometown. Partway through the college hoop season, the Mountaineers caught my interest. I studied their system, and I installed it with my freshman team, running the 5-out spread and the 1-3-1, mimicking the great Coach Beeline. We went on to win 17 straight games, which landed me a varsity coaching job a couple of towns over. Due to this success, I decided to enroll at WVU for graduate school, where I had a transformative experience. Sticking with the 2005 team's spacing principles and the staple 1-3-1 defense, I went on to become the winningest high school basketball coach at the school I took over with the most conference titles. I also obtained a master's degree from West Virginia University. Fast forward. I have created my own leadership development consulting business where I work with captains, coaches, and athletic directors in the state of Massachusetts. Moreover, I was just hired by WVU as an adjunct faculty member to teach sport leadership. It gets better. I now have 3 kids, and they're diehard Mountaineer fans. I am making the trip to campus 19 October for K-State and bringing my 8-year-old and 4-year-old for the very first time to West Virginia. My 8-year-old told me if she could travel anywhere in the world, it would either be Paris or West Virginia.
Yeah, about right.
Too often in the same category.
Two equal opportunities right
exactly,
there. Paris or West Virginia. Sure.
My son said Disney World or Morgantown.
Also,
same thing.
Also tough coin flip.
Yeah.
We are fired up to try Tudor's Biscuit World when we get to campus, and I might indulge in some Connection 304. Long-winded text comes back to the impact that the 2005 basketball team had and the direction my life took because of it. Signed, Gordy from Massachusetts.
That is a great
Incredible.
one. That is a great one.
That is those seminal moments. Something happens in somebody's life, and the arc begins to bend and takes you in a certain direction.
That's a lot of things, though, right there. Yeah. That's a direct result. People often talk about what athletics does for a university.
Correct.
Now, it's one person, I realize, but how about that? A direct result of that basketball team gets him here, changed the course of his life.
Incredible.
I shared that with I shared Matt from Morgantown, and I shared that one with John.
Did you?
Because as a coach, those are the ones those are great victories, right? Those are like huge.
Great text, Gordy.
Texter, I have a theory. Maybe Garrett's accuracy is low-ish because he doesn't throw a lot of short balls. Why doesn't he throw short passes? Because he doesn't need to. He scrambles often, gain more yardage than a short check down. So most of his passes end up being longer, which are inherently lower percentage. Just a theory. I'm curious if Brad's numbers would back this up. John in L.A. Probably a little bit of something there, right? You can research that because I've got this. This is a very emotional text.
Okay.
As I sit here reading this, struggling to determine if kickoff was at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central, I developed tears in my eyes as I reached the bottom of the graphic. I called friends, family, and I went to the highest mountain at my hunting camp and screamed, "We finally did it!" All times are Eastern. on the Big 12 TV times for the week.
How about that?
God bless America. We did it.
They've been on a nice roll. That's been every week this season. I think they haven't gone backwards. Last year there was some slippage.
Yeah.
I think they have crossed that Rubicon.
By the way, when they came out with the 4 o'clock for Oklahoma State, I thought, we better check that. That's a weird time. Is that 3? Is that 4?
That was weird. That's stupid. Texter, just finished listening to the Three Guys. Tony's last comment made me laugh. Many probably didn't get it, but the Fighting Shianos? How many times has he been at Rutgers?
Rutgers.
Excellent reference to Rutgers. Made me laugh out loud. Bud in Lexington.
When I was traveling with the Mountaineers, for some reason, I have more memories of going to Rutgers than any place else, and I don't know why.
We had good meals.
Oh, had good meals.
We had good meals, remember?
And they had a good booth, too.
Nice booth.
Nice booth.
Yeah, nice booth.
No parking problems.
I received several texts on the following topic. I didn't use some of them because they became repetitive. But on the last episode, I screwed up with Fred Munster. And a lot of people
called him Fred Munster?
Well, yeah, a lot of people called me out. So anyway, how about this guy? Hey, Tony, how could you call Herman Munster Fred? The man was a legend. It's like calling Muhammad Ali, Abdullah Ali, or Bart Starr, Bert Starr, or Willie Mays, Billy Mays. Get it together, man.
Well, you got confused because it's Fred Gwynn.
Yes.
Fred Gwynn.
Didn't your mom know Fred Gwynn?
Neighbors.
Wait a minute. Wait, what? Excuse me? What?
His mom was unbelievable.
What do you got? What do you got on Fred Gwynn?
It's really wild in that text. I could go deeper on that text, who they lumped together. Lived by Fred Gwynn.
Who did?
My mother, growing up.
Lived by Fred Gwynn.
Could drive by the house, and Mr. Gwynn would be in the front yard waving to the young ladies, young kids.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
It gets better.
So he's from Iowa?
Huh? That was in New York.
Okay.
She was in New York. But wait.
There's more?
Well, yeah, you've heard this one. Who'd your mom used to have Sunday dinner with?
Gentleman by the name. Well, there's a couple people in
at
the room.
dinner. But who hosted the dinner?
One of her very good friends growing up was Jill Cosell, daughter of Howard.
Really?
And who was Howard Cosell famously friends with back in the day?
Who?
A young Cassius Clay.
Oh, okay. And?
Would have Sunday dinners at the house.
So who all was there?
Ali.
The Cosells, and Cassius Clay, and my mom randomly walking in.
Is that right? Yeah, you've told me that's a great.
You got to tell that one like every. That one just
needs
to come.
Yes,
that's too good. You got to just keep going out.
It is an unbelievable story.
I want to tell you something about Hoppy Kirsch. I want to Hoppy Kirsch.
That's
Sunday
something.
dinner. Hi, Cassius. Good to see you. Pass the gravy, please.
Joe Frazier.
Oh, Cassius, could I get some rolls?
Oscar Bonavena. Texter. I waited until.
Quarry.
I mean, at that time, how many rooms is Howard Cosell in where he's not the most famous person in the room?
Yeah, really.
There wasn't many, especially in his own house.
Plus, it must have been. I mean, he must have been young because he was still Cassius Clay, right?
R.G. Moore, Floyd Patterson, Sonny Liston.
That is great. Too bad your mom didn't have a picture, right?
Right.
Oh, gosh.
Texter, I waited until the text line slowed down, but I wanted to follow up with TC on the mowing information. Remember I said mowing grass is a great job?
Yes, yes.
So this guy comes in, he says, I agree with you that it is a great job, aside from the occasional rain and bad customers. Now, I say this with a preface. Joan did mention the artificial turf in the back of the new crib. So if you ever get a hankering to cut, I've got you and fine look and fill a customer list ready to go. He always said you would like to sit back and cut some grass on occasion. LOL. I did not put artificial turf in my backyard.
Are you mowing your own grass?
I will, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I did not go artificial turf. However, with this recent drought, I certainly wish it.
Did your turf stand up?
Fantastic.
Really?
Put so much water on it, Mub came over to the house and said, yeah, we think you got a lake. Seriously. They did. I went like, no.
Did they really?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we got a leak. We noticed this. It's dead. I was like, nah, there's no leak. We're running about 6 hoses, buddy. We're going.
Got your water bill like $6,000.
Well, $4,000 less, but a little bit more.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's the price you pay for water, Hoppy. I talked to Jeff Jenkins about it. Jeff Jenkins says, and Morgantown water's cheap. You come down to Charleston, that'd cost you a lot more.
Good thing you're not in Arizona.
Jenkins up on water prices.
Yes, Jenkins price and water.
No, this came from utility board meeting.
Texter, hi, fellas. I'm one of the 85,000 or so fans that made their way back into the stadium for the end of the Kansas game.
Exactly.
Well done.
It was awesome to see the team have a moment like that pay off for all the blood, sweat, and tears they've invested. While I'm not as old as Scopes and the Hopsecutioner, stats I'm not sure about as I've aged, game outcomes have less influence on my emotional well-being. Don't misunderstand. Games and outcomes very important. After all, that's why I drive 10 hours each way to attend.
Oh my.
That's why coaches and now some players get paid very handsomely, etc. But I'm pretty sure my mom, shout out to MJ and Savannah, wife and kids still love me after a loss, and I still get to go to work each day, no matter whether the Mountaineers win or lose. Perspective is undefeated. Rob in Atlanta.
Healthy.
Through that. Good shout out to MJ and Savannah.
MJ, just love her. Met her. Yeah.
At a game last year.
Texter, hey, three guys, Tyler from Mineral County. You guys ever hear of a guy by the name of Andy Kodalicki asking for a friend?
Have not.
Glad you got that in. We had not mentioned him. We're a half hour in. Hadn't got that in.
Yeah. Texter, hi, three guys. I want to give a shout out to a couple of Pitt fans. I flew in from Portland for the game. After the non-hold, then blocked punt for a TD, I lost my composure. I turned to the crowd behind me and flashed the WVU hand sign, accompanied by the verbal translation. Two Pitt fans gave it right back with the same translation. After about a minute, I turned around again and I apologized. These two guys took it entirely in stride, gave me fist bumps, and told me not to worry about it. We exchanged pleasantries throughout the game. I'm signed by Humboldt in the Pacific Northwest. Sean.
Very good, Sean.
Also healthy.
Pat from Ohio County. I was very close to sending an in-game text last Saturday, but I refrained because of the reasons you three guys always discuss. My comment would have been, are we sure that we always have 11 players out there on defense? It really seemed like we were outnumbered at times. I was also excited to get to shake hands with Kevin Pittsnoggle during the weather delay. So big KP was out there. Yeah. Texter, hey, three guys, I've got a couple of observations for the fans and certain journalists that want Neil Brown fired. West Virginia, number one, West Virginia is not a dream job for Power 4 coaches. We would get a coach who was fired from Power 4, a group of 5, 6, or 7 school, an FCS coach all looking to make a name. 2, the last time a coach was fired from West Virginia, there was a huge exodus of players. Coach Brown has certainly reduced the negative effects of the portal since he's been here. I don't know if Coach Brown should stay in his position past the end of his contract, but I do know that whatever you want to call it, the climb will start from the bottom of the hill again. Signed by Frank. Well, I think firing these conversations or these Jack Wieners that start talking about firing, man, put on your reality cap. Neil Brown's not going anywhere. I mean, WVU's athletic department budget right now is trying to figure out how to pay players next July $20 million. That's the only concern right now of doing your business. And right now, it's 2-2. So just chillax and let the season play. Hey. This guy wants me to yell hello. 3 guys. Hello! Writing to support the Andy Kotelnicki Mention Index and the West Virginia Connections. Did you know Kotelnicki played and coached as the offensive coordinator at Wisconsin River Falls, where Owen Schmidt played? Yeah, we already talked about that. That was the GI doc. Texter, I stopped in at Go-Mart and I checked in for some Connection 304. Well, that's where it was.
Sold out.
Anyway, I can't keep it on the shelf. So there it is, just a barren space.
Sad.
Where Connection 304 had lived.
Coming soon. Thank you for checking it out.
Now it's gone.
Be back soon.
Don't forget, folks, Go-Mart. You know, it's I heard Tucker County is at peak leaves, Hoppy?
Yes. That's what was reported today by Chelsea Ruby.
Yeah, grand weekend then to go do some leaf looking.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're going to need food. You're going to need fuel. Make Go-Mart your place to go. If you got the little ones with you, you're going to have to get some candies, Candies. You're going to have to get some candies.
Snacks.
Reese's, Mallow Cups, M&Ms, Hershey's, plain Hershey's with almonds.
Which I would hurry on those Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. The deals are going to run out.
Yeah, into this month.
I think they're reset at the start of the month. Same with the M&Ms.
Charleston Chews, underrated. Very good. Used to like those.
They still make those?
Oh, yeah. You can get them. Yeah. Check out Go-Mart, they got it for you. Get the rewards card.
Milky Way.
Texter, Grant and Parkersburg, is there a breakdown of inside versus outside runs for C.J. Donaldson and Jaheim White? It feels like C.J. is getting a lot of stretch, White getting a lot of inside, appears to contradict their respective strengths. However, is it quite possible those runs just stick out to me and are not supported by numbers?
How about stats? What do you got stats?
C.J., 13 total carries around the left end or right end, 16 total carries through the A-gaps.
Okay.
So
almost 50-50.
Yeah. If you look through West Virginia's distribution of gaps that it's running through, it really is, it's pretty balanced. You know what's interesting, though? The most first downs rushing for West Virginia have come around the right end. Been very successful there.
Nick Malone.
7.1 yards per attempt around the right end.
Is that because the job Malone's doing or because they're stacking up on
10 rushing first downs?
Expecting to run on Milam's side?
Well, your other side, 8 first downs coming around the left edge, averaging 6.1 yards per carry. So your 2 most successful rushing areas are where? Following behind your 2 blockers that are having really good seasons so far.
Dustin in St. Albans, right
also
side.
9 yards per carry right up the A-gap on the right side.
Quarterback draw. Texter, I know we're discussing a lot of football, as we should, but is there any word when the full basketball schedule will be released? I love the show. Dustin St. Albans. Yeah, Dustin, I've got information on that today. They're going to release it March 18th.
Yeah, I thought they were just going to go ahead and play the first couple games, then release the next few games, and then come after that.
They do a post-game reveal. Hey, here's who we're playing next.
Listen, there's 112 teams in this league. That matrix, can you imagine doing the scheduling matrix in this league? Oh.
Well, so here's what's going on from a base distance. Obviously, it's a computerized system that shoots out the schedule. There have been multiple back and forths with the schedule. Schools look at it and go, you got to be freaking kidding me. They ask for changes. Everyone, and so it goes back and forth. But you're right, man. What the heck is it? It's October almost, and the schedule's not out. Now, you know who you're playing, home, away, but you don't know when. What do you think, dude?
Soon.
Right, days?
Yeah.
Couple of days?
Has to be. Yeah.
Is the non-conference out?
Oh, yeah. That's all done. Yeah, it's all done.
Doesn't the season start
Well, it already
next
started.
week or something?
We already played 2 games. October 18.
October 18
is the exhibition. Yeah.
Incredible.
Hoppy, you riled some people up.
Okay.
Guys, I haven't messaged in a while, but this has pushed me over the edge. You guys are pushing to duck Alabama.
Yes.
Neil's also clearly scared of them.
Oh, geez.
You have repeatedly stated that beating Penn State is not reasonable for WVU. These are the games I want to see. I want to play Bama. Will they beat us? Maybe, if we don't think we belong on that field with the big boys. Oh, how far have we fallen? Maybe I'm stuck in the past. But Rich feared nobody. I love Hoppy. I have for years. But his vision for Mountaineer football has me fuming. 7-win seasons, we should celebrate that. Making a bowl, who cares? Everyone goes to a bowl. If the pinnacle of what we should hope for with a Mountaineer football team is mediocrity, then I have a lot of stuff to reconsider. I know this is poorly worded and not likely to be read on the show, but I'm too annoyed to care. I love you guys, and this isn't about Coach Brown either. If the WVU fan base yearns for 7 wins, mediocrity, and Mayo Bowls, then I don't even know what to say. For the first time in my life, maybe I need to reconsider Chris and Hurricane. I laughed in between there because all of a sudden I started to sound like Andy Rooney. I know this is poorly worded and not likely to be right, but anyway. All right, Hoppy, what do you got?
Oh, it's just I think that West Virginia cannot realistically expect to compete with Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, maybe not even Texas, those schools that just have these gigantic budgets. And it's not, they've never competed evenly with Penn State, ever. You've never been in this, going back maybe to the mid-1950s, but you've never been on the same level as Penn State in football. You just haven't. So I don't know how you would, I mean, they get 105,000 fans or whatever, so I don't know how you would expect to do that. And this is a tough league. There's a lot of equality in this league. And you're with teams that you're similar with, Kansas State or Iowa State or Kansas or Oklahoma State. And it's going to be a coin flip for a lot of these games. And so, Rich had a lot of success and they had a lot of talent, not taking anything away from them. But you had a couple gimmies on that schedule back in the day. And you don't have any gimmies now except for the, Albany. So 7 wins, 8 wins, bowl game. I think that's fine.
Listen, there's just no benefit to playing those games right now. That's the thing. Until college football behaves like college basketball and gives you credit for losing tough games, which college basketball does, then West Virginia does not need to be an outlier in playing a difficult schedule with the 2 Power 5s. It doesn't have to. It has nothing to do with being scared. Has nothing to do with you want your goal to be winning 7 games. Those are false arguments there. The fact is you don't get rewarded for playing those games. Go win games. Just win games. And this league is good enough that you're in a shot to play for a national championship. That's the point of this. This isn't about being scared or trying to do anything other than you are not rewarded right now in college football for that part of the equation. You're just not.
I would just add to that, Chris, I hear what you're saying. I would say I don't think Neil is scared. I think that you just have to have, as these guys have said, smart scheduling. If it was Alabama – and then an FBS and an FCS team, a group of 5 team, and then a lower-level team, I don't think Neil's got any problem with that. I think his point was, why are we banging our heads and playing these multiple Power 5s among the 3 conference games when no one else is doing it? So if it's just, I think our philosophy is this: let's do what everyone else is doing, and don't try to do more than that. That's all we're saying. And I think this new Big 12, I mean, we can be extremely competitive in this new Big 12. It's right there for you. It's going to be hard, like usual. To your point, Hoppy, you're not going to be like Ohio State. You're not going to be like Michigan. You're not going to be like Penn State. Never were.
No,
you never were.
No.
Before NIL, you just never were. That's just the world that it is. So you just continue to play. And this program has had success. This program will continue to have success. But I was just specifically talking about don't overschedule. That's all.
Which you've been overscheduled.
Oh, God. Worst ever.
Real quick, 2007. You controlled your own destiny. You beat a bad Pitt team, and you're playing for a natty. Agreed?
Agreed.
Not even debatable.
No.
Right?
Yes.
You played Western Michigan, Marshall, Maryland, East Carolina, South Florida, Syracuse, Mississippi State, Rutgers, Louisville, Cincinnati, Connecticut, Pitt. And you were in control of getting yourself to a national championship. Who's the murderer's row there in that?
That's
now,
not
again,
difficult to
some of those Big East teams were better than people give them credit for. But there was no Alabama there. There was no Georgia there. There was no Ohio State there. There was no Michigan there. The stadium was packed. It was rolling. You were a national story. You do not have to play the most difficult schedule in the country. You just don't.
Yeah. I'm wondering, this is another, Rob from Oldfields. I'm wondering if we as West Virginia fans are trying to make ourselves more relevant than we really are. I feel like we're a top 25 program overall, but after some beverages, I'm starting to think it might just be us that believe that. No, I mean, historically, you're a top 25 program in both sports.
And you finished last season top 25 in the coaches poll, so you're right there.
This is a pretty interesting story. Chris from Jackson, Michigan. I grew up in Fairmont in the 80s. I'm going to speed read this. I grew up in Fairmont in the 80s, graduated from East Fairmont. Moves have taken me to Ohio and Michigan. I was thankful to discover that this podcast a few years ago gives me a connection. I've lived in Michigan 23 years. From time to time, I see the flying WV logo. Recently, in a public waiting room, struck up a conversation with a guy who was wearing a UCF hoodie. I asked if he was a fan, started talking about their upcoming game with Colorado. I casually mentioned that I grew up in West Virginia and we'd be playing UCF later this year. He talked about last year's UCF West Virginia game. Then he noted, I had a cousin who played football for WVU. I was tempted to say, of course you did, but I kept that one to myself. My curiosity piqued. I inquired, who was it? Turns out it was none other than Pat White. We then went on to talk about the Pat White, Steve Slayton era of West Virginia football. An unexpected conversation that was too good to pass on. Thank you guys for providing a sense of nostalgia and connection to home for those of us who have been uprooted from almost heaven. Listening to you all is to the ears what eating a Colasesino's pizza or a Yan's hot dog and a pepperoni roll is to the taste buds. Thanks for your insights into the team we all love, for keeping it entertaining. Let's go Mountaineers. Chris from Jackson, Michigan. That was very nice.
Yeah.
That's why we created Connection 304.
That's right. Always a connection.
Always.
I like a Yan's hot dog right now, too.
Oof.
Now that I could eat 2.
Those are good.
You could have 2 of those?
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to have milk with those, right?
Chocolate.
No, probably a beer.
Ooh. Connection 304.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, did I hear you correctly that homeless Dave went to North Carolina Wesleyan College in Rocky Mount, North Carolina? I was a freshman there in 1990. I quickly realized my lifestyle at that time was not compatible with a religious school, so I entered the transfer portal. Given West Virginia's reputation for partying, I took an official visit to Morgantown. There was no NIL, so I got all I got was a red Solo cup with my name written on it with a black Sharpie at a tailgate party.
Yes.
I committed on the spot. I remember one day as a student anxiously awaiting the newest Playboy party school rankings, only to be disappointed that West Virginia didn't make the list. Then we noticed an asterisk at the bottom of the page. Playboy declared us professionals, making us ineligible to be ranked. At that moment, I knew my work was done and West Virginia was my new home. Do you know when Dave attended? It's a small school, and I wonder if we crossed paths back in the day, signed by P1 Scott in Stafford. I sent that to Dave.
What did homeless Dave say?
He just said, religious school? ? Randy in State College is pissed at you, Hoppy, about your comments as well about Penn State and the whole thing. So basically, it's the same conversation. Randy, we love you.
Love you, Randy.
Grant from D.C., by the way, of Morgantown. Question for Brad. Now that we're 4 games in, data points crystallizing, would you feel good about having an over 6.5 win total ticket in your back pocket?
It's a good question. I liked the over 6.5 before the season. I thought Pitt needed to be one of those, so you're going to have to do work coming down the stretch here. Yeah.
2, West Virginia currently sits with the 6th best odds to win the Big 12 at plus 2,000. Would you sprinkle any of your Reese's Cup pocket change on those odds?
You're in the hunt.
Would you buy a ticket at 6.5 today?
Ooh, good question, Harvey.
I'd like it a little bit lower because of the loss for Pitt.
Yeah,
I'd like them to give another one. Again, guys, it just comes down to that you've just had 2 literal coin flip games, the last 2, right?
And you got a couple more coming up.
You've got a couple more coming here. Now, he's looking at it the right way. You would want to buy that ahead of those games. Ideally, you would have liked to get them before the Kansas game on the future, but they're going to be in the mix. Utah looks really good, right? We joke about that. I mean, that was the preseason pick for a reason. They look really good schedule-wise.
And they went on the road without their starting quarterback.
But, yeah, just stay in the mix till you get to November, see what happens.
You're 1-0.
Stay around.
Scope, spreads, and the tailgate dean. Bye-week question. Is there any discussion Big 12 will go to divisions and 8 conference games per year like the SEC? It'd be great for us to have 4 non-conference games that would allow for 2 regional rivals per year. Not Charlie and Charleston. I have no idea. I think that, I mean, if you
most conferences are going away from divisions now.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if they're even thinking about that kind of stuff. I think they're, you know, now that Gonzaga's off the table and the Connecticut thing's not happened, maybe up in Toronto trying to get a college to come in or something like that. Maybe down in, University of Mexico. Texter, this whole NIL mess just cracks me up. So much that it happens to be UNLV. If it was 1988, you bet Tark the Shark would come up with an extra $100K.
Brad and I talked about it on my public affairs show. I mean, what a story that is.
Yeah, it's a good story because it's a story that needs to happen and get out in the public because it's going to hopefully start setting some parameters up in this stuff.
That's it. I mean, this thing happened so fast that you couldn't account for these circumstances arising, and so now that's what's happening. Some of these situations are coming up.
You know, what's rule number 1 in the law world, right? Verbal agreements really are never never enforceable.
Get the paper.
Yeah.
Yeah, but college football recruiting hasn't always operated in the world of signed contracts.
So maybe
for the young men
in the negotiation they were still going old school, right? Like, we promise you this.
Yeah. 3 guys, I had a blast at the food court last week, and I got to spend a few minutes with Hoppy, and he was happy to see me. And I enjoyed his company. Homeless Dave was a wonderful host. He introduced me to Hudson Clement's family. I can verify that efforts are underway to get Huddy's dad to perform, as I was there when the conversation was going on. By the way, your boy was on ESPN2. Here's the pick. Enjoy it. I'll see you on October the 11th. Elite 1 Jennings in Kanawha.
Jennings, look at that. By the way,
did he get his hair cut?
No, he shaved his beard.
Oh, that's it.
He shaved his beard but kept his porn stash.
Yeah, those are interesting.
Yeah, I saw Jennings at the tailgate.
Well, he says you're wonderful.
Jennings is always there.
Always there.
Thank you, Jennings.
He got caught. He came late. Had a traffic issue on 79.
Well, you know what's really funny? Is you're now being identified as the anchor of the food court. like the guy who wouldn't show up a year ago. The guy you would just kind of like meander out. Now you're like the guy.
Well, you know what? Beer, food, company. I think I've found my lane.
It's awesome. Yeah. It's good.
Right?
Keep coming.
Enjoy
next week. The next time we have a food court, I'm not even going to say because are we doing lunch again or not? We'll get you next week.
Plus, I just like minor celebrity. I don't pay for anything.
Sure.
Just wander in.
Just got to get that urinal back.
Yeah.
Hey, three guys. Has there ever been an organization that displayed more incompetence than the NCAA has in regards to NIL and the portal? Maybe Enron? Perhaps the death cult group that thought they were all going to be whisked away on the Hale-Bopp comet? The South African government that hired a sign language interpreter for Nelson Mandela's funeral who didn't actually know how to sign and was just waving his hands about during the televised ceremony? Seriously, though, how dysfunctional is the NCAA when they can see the train coming down the tracks and we still end up with a situation like UNLV is facing with their former QB? The foolish administrators are going to kill college football through their own inability to deal with the reality staring them in the face. I love the show. Signed, J.D. Southern Coalfields.
NCAA still in business?
Got the wrong people. People that don't understand how the real world works. Presidents, they don't get it. They're not down to the dirt level of the organic level of how this stuff really works. They have no idea. They're academics, Hoppy.
Well, but see, that's just
don't shout me down.
It is simple. It's actually, I know, Brad, what you're going to say, but it's actually simple because it goes back to the barter days that Tony's talking about. I mean, a service, I provide a service and you pay me for that service. I mean, that's as old as economics existed in the world. And forget about student athlete, drop that, forget about that. They're professional athletes, and you need to deal with them in a professional business manner. What service are you going to provide? What is the value of that? What is it worth to me? What is it worth to you? And you do a deal. That's pretty simple. Now, you should start from that point and forget about the whole the concept of there's somebody playing now that I think it's their 8th year, isn't there?
In Miami.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Listen, here's the thing. You're not wrong by any stretch, but that's the easiest part of the whole thing. That you're not going to get any debate from that inside. It's, again, broken record alert. It's the execution of that. This is a massive organization with a massive amount of decision makers in there that, this will surprise you, don't all agree on how this should be handled. Add in every time a decision or a rule tries to be put in place, the organization is getting sued in court and losing on top of that. So this is not a defense of the NCAA. This is not a defense of member institutions. They're behind, and they've got to get caught up. They all know that. It is hard to get caught up and get this thing in place while games and the process and the day-to-day continues on down the tracks. Right. It's a hard fix. We can come up with great answers sitting right here, and I'm not being sarcastic. We can sit around and come up with great answers. The implementation is the challenge here.
That is a fair point because you're building the plane while you're flying.
While you're flying it, yes. Okay. And again, you can't get people on a campus to agree in consensus, let alone a conference, let alone a country, nation, let alone all of these different sizes of institution. It's a hard fix here, guys, and it's not just for football. It's not just for men's basketball. It's all the other sports. It's a really difficult business model that has outlived what it was intended and designed to do, and it is just a hard fix. Yeah. Simple as that.
I talked to someone in the SEC this week, and they told me something interesting that we kind of don't put into perspective. Not everyone in the SEC is walking around with Daddy Warbucks money. There's a level there as well that we oftentimes think, well, they're in the SEC, they're fine. I mean, the Mississippis, the Mississippi States, the Vanderbilts, And, you know, a few of these schools, they're
maybe not Mississippi right now.
Yeah.
Let's take that. Take that. Mississippi's found some dollars.
Well, but there are schools in that league that just aren't peeing money. And they're looking at it as well, saying, like, how are we going to do this? They're asking the question. Like all the other leagues are asking the question. And to your point, Brad, it'll never be right because the power brokers are never going to relent to make it equal. They're always going to want to have the gold and the rule. So, like, you guys can come along. So they are chopping right now. We don't want you smaller schools voting on any future legislation. We want our autonomy. But still inside that group of the big boys is going to be, we're not giving up any of our power. And so it'll never be fair. It's human nature, right? It's human nature. Just a reminder that when Hoppy, Brad, and I go leaf watching, we oftentimes like to do it down a body of water. Mm-hmm. And we'll take our Lou Wendell pontoon, most likely in Avalon, because they're made in the United States.
Or Tritoon.
Or a Tritoon. Tritoon from Avalon. Or the G3. I bet you Chris Lawrence over there at Hunting and Fishing World, he'd love to have himself a Lou Wendell G3. He got out there, use it for fishing. But Lou Wendell Marine Sales has been in business almost heading toward 50 years. You can't stay in business 50 days nowadays if you don't do it well. And they've survived the test of time. They're a premier pontoon boat dealer in the state of West Virginia. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. That's LouWendellMarineSales.com, the premier pontoon boat dealer in our state, service, and a whole lot more. Probably get near that point where we'll go on that website. Probably starting to take them boats up a little bit in a while, won't they?
Oh, yeah.
Service, things like that.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. That'd be kind of neat.
Maybe a good time, though, to go in and make a purchase now.
Exactly.
Now for next year.
Get out in front of it.
Get it, right? Yeah. You either got to get in there early.
Get out in front.
Or you got to get in there toward the end of the season and go, hey, we got the new ones coming in next year. Hey, what about this one? Might be a great time. If you're thinking about boating, visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Earlier, I let you know that we will have a Sunday release about noon on Sunday. Tucker DeVries in the studio with us. Hoppy was unavailable, so Tucker was here. We talked about a ton of stuff.
He was tremendous.
He a little bit humble.
Very humble.
A little bit humble, Hoppy.
That's a trade up. I'm out, he's in. That's a good move.
We got size. We got a shooter. Yeah, it was a good move on our part.
Just a better person.
No. I mean, he's a nice young man, but he downplays his stuff.
Does he?
We had to speak on his behalf a couple of times.
Oh, really humble.
Yeah, about how good he has been.
He talked about how overmatched he was when he got to Drake as a freshman. I was overmatched. I had 3 guys in front of me, and da-da-da. I went like, well, wait a second. I'm looking at the numbers here. You led the team in scoring that year. Well, yeah, I did, but I mean, there were some injuries and things like that. So it's really good. Check that out.
Looking forward to the season.
Exactly. Thanks to all of our sponsors that make it happen. 3 Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By GoMart. Get a GoMart rewards card. You can download that off of their website, download it, and get the app. GoMart.com is the place to be. You can save on food, fuel, and so much more.
Headed there now.
Where? Go-Mart?
I'm going, as soon as I leave here, going to Go-Mart.
What are you going to buy?
I need some gas.
3 Guys brought to us by.
You guys yell at me when I walk inside and try and get Reese's peanut
butter
cups.
Because you walk in and you walk in and go, where's the Reese's? Don't even say hello.
3 Guys also brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. 3 Guys brought to us by Tudor's Biscuit World. Start your day the homemade way. Start your day the 3 Guys way. Tudor's Biscuits. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond numbers. I'm going to pretend, Hoppy, that we're doing a live show.
Okay.
And I have to hit the post at 2 o'clock. Don't forget, we're back with you on Sunday with a special episode with Tucker DeVries. For Hoppy, for Brad, our producer, Austin, 3 Guys is an exclusive presentation of absolutely I don't know who. It's 2 o'clock. See ya.